from Pontes Books here with the chapter 31 historical tidbit for the Prince and the Pauper. Today's historical tidbit comes from a part of the parade kind of that's happening in chapter 31 toward the coronation. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people walking through the streets. There's a lot of different uniforms being described and displays being described and things like that. So our historical tidbit today is a part of all that hubbub. Today we are looking at what's called the Honourable Artillery Company. And so I believe this is their kind of like crest of sorts, not crest, their symbol. And they are still a thing today. So we'll kind of look at both the history and today. So here's the reference in The Prince and the Pauper. Also in the procession, as a special guard of honor through the city, was the Ancient and Honourable Artillery Company, an organization already 300 years old at that time, and the only military body in England possessing the privilege, which it still possesses in our day, of holding itself independent of the commands of Parliament. So I wanted to look at what is this Ancient and Honourable Artillery Company. So the Honourable Artillery Company specifically is kind of the name by which they're known, but interestingly enough, was not the name they were known by in the Prince and the Pauper times. And I don't know if that's a mistake by Mark Twain or if he just didn't have the technology or resources, obviously not technology, but the resources to know that, I don't know, or maybe he just didn't care. So what is the Honourable Artillery Company? So it traces back as far as 1087. So when they're talking about how it is already an old organization at the point where it's in the parade, that's true, historically accurate. So it received a royal charter from King Henry VIII in 1537, but can be traced back much, much longer before that. And the reason it was created was, quote, for the better defense of this realm. And it's British spelling, that's not a typo. As is honourable with the U. These are all kind of British things. So I debated between changing the spelling or keeping it the same, and I went with keeping it in its original form. So it went by many names. There were a lot of different names that it went through. And then it was first called the Honourable Artillery Company in 1685. So that was after this story was set. And it wasn't until even after that, that it became kind of officially given that title, I think by Queen Victoria. Otherwise, it was, I guess, an informal title for the group. And it is the oldest regiment in the British Army. So it is a part of the British Army and still is to this day. And at the time was, you know, specifically, like I said, added on for the protection of the realm for Henry VIII and people before and beyond. So the Honourable Artillery Company today, since 1974, it's focused mainly on intelligence, surveillance, target acquisition, and gunnery. So that's kind of its specific role. So obviously might still involve, I don't know, the royals, but has a bigger part to play in. And it did still probably in the story as well. So they were taking part in this parade, but that doesn't mean that they were, you know, in charge of solely protecting the royals or anything like that. They were just being a part of this parade. So that's the same thing to this day, right? They serve a bigger role for the country. So they also work with local academies and, oh boy, is it Islington or Islington? Not sure, could go either way, and Hackney to work with young people to kind of give them challenges and entertainment that help them to grow up to be better citizens. And in 1964, it was actually registered as a charity to help with some of the finances that go along with it. And the current Captain General is Queen Elizabeth II. So I don't have enough of an understanding of how, you know, different military branches and things like that work, especially in the UK. But I don't know if that's the part that it referred to, is how they don't have to answer to Parliament, basically, or listen to the commands of Parliament, because they are under the control of the Queen. I'm not sure if that's what that means. I tried to look up specifically about them not being under control of Parliament, and I didn't really find anything that talked about that specifically. And like I said, that might just be what this is, but I could just be misunderstanding. So I'm not entirely sure, but we'll take Mark Twain's word for it. And yeah, so that's the Honourable Artillery Company. Hopefully you learned something. Have a good rest of your day.